So, a lot of you are probably saying, hey, Miss H, I don't know if you noticed, but you skipped like 6 sections of chapter 11, and suddenly we're on chapter 12. You are correct. We did skip the rest. And no, there's not a test on chapter 11 because there's nothing to test you on. We learned what we could from chapter 11, and after those first two pieces, you need a protractor and a ruler. And I am very well aware that most of you probably have rulers, but you definitely don't have protractors. And I can tell you guys right now that I don't have a protractor at home. So it would be really, really hard for me to teach you how to use one without being able to hold one and show you the protractor and show you how to do all of that. And it would be even more difficult for those of you who don't have one. I'm sure some of you have protractors, but for those of you that don't, that would make every single lesson after this completely impossible to do. You need a protractor, and it's better to have it there physically. So, just based on the research that I did looking for websites that have like virtual ones, I think that it would be a little difficult for you guys to use them. So we're skipping the rest of chapter 11, and if I figure out a way to teach it, we'll go back to it at the end of the year, but if not, we're skipping the rest of chapter 11, unfortunately. But yeah, we'll get more information on it later. This video, though, is, this is about units. So there's going to be probably another video, but I didn't want to do it all in one go because the units are really important. And the reason we're doing units, and unless you know what a unit is, you won't really know what we're doing. Units are a measurement system. So remember how I had said there's unit fractions? A unit actually refers to a type of measurement. So we're doing two different systems of measurement, and we're going to learn those two systems and the words that are used in them for liquid, weight, or mass, which is another kind of word for weight, and length. So liquid, weight, and length. And the two systems are essentially customary, which we use most often in the United States, and then metric, which is most often used outside of the United States. So in the US, we kind of have a different system of measuring, both in what the measurement means and what the measurement is called, than other countries. And you'll probably have heard some of these, probably not all, but at least some. So we'll start with customary. And remember, customary, think of custom, something that's done often. This is used often in the United States, and liquid is actually the easiest. And I made a little chart, and I will, yes, put this chart into an actual chart and send it to you guys on the stream once I have that chart together. So, liquid. Liquid is our first one. When you think customary and liquid, you are going to say milk every time. Milk. Why? Gallon. What do you buy milk in? Gallons. What do some people buy milk in? Because sometimes your family's not big enough for a whole gallon of milk. I know that my household cannot possibly consume a whole gallon of milk. I buy them in half gallons so that it doesn't go old and I don't throw out half my milk. Think gallon, that big, huge jug. I would have one on me to show you, but I actually don't have any milk in my house right now. But think a big, huge, round, fat jug, the heavy one that you have to carry in the grocery store that maybe your mom tells you to hold, and you're like, wow, this is incredibly heavy. How come mom can't just put it in the cart? Big, big gallon of milk. Then think half gallon. It's about as tall as my whiteboard is, and it's like a little skinny square carton of milk. But they have an even smaller one, the pint, which is like this big, and usually you don't buy milk by the pint, but you would buy like heavy cream by the pint. If your mom or dad cooks at home, maybe they make cake or they make pancakes. Some of it calls for heavy cream, and you get that tiny little baby carton, that little, almost like the ones that you drink out of in school when you get your school milk. That's like a pint of milk. Then you have the quart, somewhere in between. Think of a quart as not quite a half gallon, not quite a little tiny pint, but something in the middle. And then the final one is, think of it as a cup, a fluid ounce. Think of it as you can drink a fluid ounce of milk in a cup. You can have your little glass, drink your milk, and be done. You can for sure not drink a whole gallon of milk in 5 minutes, but you definitely can drink a fluid ounce of milk in 5 minutes if you really wanted to. All right? So those are our liquid ones. Milk. Every time. You think milk for liquid, customary. All right? Next one is pretty easy also, because we work with it all the time. Think weight for customary, think pounds. All right? Pounds. Pounds, middle one, most common. What do you weigh yourself? When we go to gym, remember we did the height and weight? They did it in pounds, not in tons, because guess what? A ton is huge. We would weigh like an elephant or a truck in tons because you can't lift it. But somebody who's 50, 60, 70, 100 pounds, you can lift. All right? An ounce is even smaller. Think of the picture that they have for an ounce is a couple of pencils. So if you have a couple pencils and like a pack and you pick up the pack, it's about an ounce. Also, a pound, you can think of like, you buy potatoes in a pound sack, the big sacks that you get if you go to like Costco or BJ's or, I don't know, there are other big brand stores where they sell huge packs of it. And then a ton, think of an elephant or a truck, like one of those big semi-truck 18-wheelers. Think that. The last one, and I'll put it on this side so that we're not focusing on all of them. Length. Length. So, a lot of these you use every day, all right? Let's start with the most obvious. Miles. How many miles is it from your house to the school? Most of you can look at our school from your window. I cannot. I know it's many miles from my house to our school. How many miles to the grocery store? How many miles from New York to Florida? Yeah, let's do that. A lot. Miles are big. It takes probably like 10 minutes to walk a mile if you're kind of speed walking or if you're not quite jogging, but you're kind of walking kind of quickly. I know some people can do like a 6-minute mile running. I know I cannot. But miles is a long distance. Yards. Think of a yardstick. It's one of the incredibly long rulers that we have in our classroom. That's a yard. It's 3 feet. But Miss H, what is a foot? How can I tell what a foot looks like? A foot? Think a license plate. The license plate on the back of your car? If not, look out your window right now and see if you can spot somebody's car. Their license plate, even probably this board, is probably like a foot, 1 foot long. So when you think of like 3 feet, think 3 license plates the long way. Think 3 of these boards next to each other, and this is 3 feet. And then the final one is an inch. When you think an inch, think your finger. See that first part, that little part right here of my finger? This thing is like an inch right here. That from that crease to the tip is like an inch, all right? So if you say like, oh, my fork is like an inch long, you're probably wrong because it's many fingerprints long, okay? And those are the customary units. Liquid, weight, and length. Now, metric units, instead of weight, they use mass. So I'll put that at the top in parentheses. Ooh, that's a terrible M. You'll never be able to read that. It's very difficult to write this way, the way that I'm doing it. I put weight so that you can equate them, but really what they measure... Really what they use to measure it is mass. But weight, for all intents and purposes, is pretty similar, so if you're not really sure what mass means, just speak about it as if it's weight. Now we're going to start with liquid again because we love liquid. Milliliters and liters. We use liters in the United States. Soda is sold in liters. So when you think liquids, think of, especially in the metric system, that's the system that we don't really use, we do use liters. You buy 2-liter bottles of soda at the store, those big Pepsi spheres. The big Pepsi, they're not spheres, but they're plastic Pepsi things or Coca-Cola, whatever you prefer. They're sold in 2-liter bottles. Milliliters, milli. It means small, milli. Think of like if you took a drop of soda and put it on the table, or if you like, if like your soda ever bubbles over a little and a little drop gets on the table, just a drop, that's a milliliter. Small, very small. But what about weight, also known as mass? Grams and kilograms. Grams and kilograms. Now, what I'm looking at, and what might help you, is a gram. Think about the weight of a dollar. Think about a dollar. If you hold a dollar, if you crumple it and you hold it in your hand like this, you can feel that it weighs something, but like if somebody put it in your backpack without you knowing, you would have no idea that it was in there because it wouldn't make a difference. So if somebody just dropped a dollar into the zipper of your backpack without telling you, you wouldn't know until you got home because you wouldn't be able to feel that weight. So think of that as a gram. And as a kilogram, think of a baseball bat. So think about if you crumpled enough dollars to equal the weight of a wooden baseball bat, that's a kilogram. And if you've never held a baseball bat before, what's in our classroom? There's not much in our classroom. Think like a textbook. Or maybe, yeah, about a textbook. If you're holding one of our science textbooks, that's probably like a kilogram worth of weight. So think textbook or baseball bat for those of you who play sports. And for a gram, think a crumpled dollar bill on your backpack that you would never know is there. Last one, just like last time. The metric units for length are confusing, but we know one of them. Centimeters. Centimeters are on our ruler. They are smaller than inches. Much smaller than inches. Now, if you're thinking centimeter, instead of doing the top to like line of your finger, think end to end. So from here to here, that's like a millimeter. Much smaller than an inch. Not incredibly small, but much smaller. And a milliliter, the only way I can describe it to you is either you look at a ruler and you see a millimeter, or you could probably show a millimeter by turning a coin sideways. So instead of holding the coin like this and saying like, look, Miss H, you can see the face of the quarter. Turn it like this and look at that little rigid side of the quarter. That's about a millimeter. It's a tongue twister. A decimeter, think D, decimeter. Do this, and from this pinky finger all the way to your thumb in a straight line, when you spread your finger out like that, that's about a decimeter. So every time you think decimeter, spread your hand out like this and say from here to here, decimeter. What's the next one? Meter. Top of the door to the bottom of the door. Look up at your door right now. There's probably a door somewhere. If not a door, it's probably like an opening to get from one room to the next. Look at that. Top. Look at the bottom. That's a meter. Right there. Done. And the last one, what is it? Kilometers. You could probably walk a kilometer in 10 minutes, I would say. So a little longer than a mile. A little longer than a mile. I believe I said a mile was... Oh, I'm sorry, a little shorter than a mile. I said that a mile was about 20 minutes walking. Like walking pretty slow, I would say, is 20 minutes. But a kilometer is only like 10. So think that there are a couple of kilometers in a mile. All right? Probably like 2. So those are all of those. So a mile is bigger than this one, just to clarify. All right? Now, I would suggest you kind of watch this video maybe twice, just so that you can really get an understanding of each one of these. And then I'm also going to show you how to compare them right now. So you're going to look at the next video of me comparing two of them. Now, you're only going to be comparing liquid to liquid, solid to solid, length to length. So I'm not going to be like, which one is more? A millimeter, which is a length, which we said is like the side of a quarter, or a fluid ounce, which is a liquid, because you cannot compare those two things. You can't compare a liquid to a quarter. I mean, you could compare their weights, but you can't compare which one is more. So when you compare these things, you're going to do an ounce to a ton, or you're going to do a millimeter to a centimeter, all right? And I'm going to show you how to do that in the next video. So make sure to watch the next video to see how you're going to do the math problems.